If you are creative of ideas, hang on to that. Believe in that. Because that's why you're sitting opposite somebody that wants to buy into that, right? And I would just put this out to any young person now is the whole business of, AI or indeed anything to do with digital, get to know it. Because that has no boundaries. Yeah. If you can do it, they'll employ you. And that is the future. If you're going to get into business, know your field. Develop your strategy. Know what it is that you're going after.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey.
Today's episode is brought to you by CME Accounting LLC in partnership with the Saint Lucia High Commission, the official representative of the government of Saint Lucia in the United Kingdom. To find out more about the High Commission, visit www.stluciahcuk.org. Let's jump in to today's conversation. Welcome back to Begin, Build, Blossom. We're in season 3. Thank you to all our loyal subscribers and listeners and now viewers as well. We look forward to keeping you on this journey as we inspire, we share information, we share experiences, and build a community. Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey. Today, we're delving into the incredible journey of a creator, a writer, a storyteller. But before we introduce him, my name is Angela St. Dennis, and I'll be your host for today's episode. So as I said, we're delving into the story of a pioneer in British media, a son of the soil of Saint Lucia. For over 4 decades, one man has dedicated himself to shifting the narrative, breaking barriers, and ensuring that voices from all walks of life are not just heard, but celebrated. From changing the landscape of television with Desmond, a sitcom that became a cultural milestone for the British Caribbean community, to driving structural change within the media industry, this individual has transformed the way we think about storytelling and representation. But it's not just about the stories he told. It's about the doors he opened for a new generation of creators, the mentorship he provided, and the real lasting impact he's made through initiatives that are rewriting the future of the industry. Today, we're talking to Trix Worrell, award-winning writer, director, academic, and cultural activist whose work continues to inspire change across the UK, the Caribbean, and beyond. Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, Trix.
Thank you. I didn't recognize that intro, actually. That was so long and big. And I can't imagine I've done all those things, but I certainly have.
I know. Sometimes when you listen to your bio, you're thinking, is it the same person? Are they talking about me?
It's all lies.
Yes, that cannot be true. But I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing.
My pleasure.
To join us. My pleasure. You are opening up our season 3.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Yes.
Huge responsibility, folks.
I know, right?
Okay.
But we're sure he's up to the task.
We'll see.
Yes. So as we indicated, Begin, Build, Blossom is about sharing that journey.
Sure.
In business, in experiences. And we certainly hope that your story can inspire others to, perhaps they may not be creatives, but they may be in another field, but the principles remain the same. Would you agree? Definitely. So as we get into Begin, Build, Blossom, we like to do something called rapid fire. It's an opportunity for us and our viewers and listeners to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
A little different outside of the business journey. So the first question has to do with a word to describe you as a child and an adult.
Anxious and anxious.
Oh, so there's no change, is there?
When I was a kid, because we moved around quite a bit and I ended up in England and, I've got very, very anxious because it was very racist at the time. Mm-hmm. And now I'm sitting here at a certain age the whole world is making me anxious currently. I wish I could say more, but as a child, I was much more of an introvert, and I was really sort of scared of the world, the universe, and people around me.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think as we hear your story, we'll see how that led to the writing journey.
Sure.
From there. So this is a interesting question for you as a writer.
All right.
A book or a movie you'd recommend?
Oh, a book. I think it's very difficult, actually. So The Lonely Londoners. I've been writing about the migrant experience in England, right, since the Windrush generation to now. And so Lonely Londoners by Sam Selvon is probably one of the books I would recommend. And but also I cannot but mention Maya Angelou and Cage Birds. That blew my mind when I read it. Lonely Londoners did, because actually all the places that he'd been and seen and the experiences that he went through, I myself was going through that and relating to. And because he was Trini, he talks about all the other islands too. So it wasn't Trinidad specific or even cultural specific. It was more about the shared identity of being a migrant in England at that time. So, but, Cage Bird, what was wonderful about that is the empowerment that it gave, especially me as somebody. By the end of it, I was like, I can do this. This is really. So
you were motivated and inspired.
I was motivated and inspired. And then I was lucky enough to meet the woman, and, I had to go, I'm not worthy, so she's a phenomenal woman, really.
Yes. When I heard her story about how she started writing and, not saying anything for so long and taking the blame for something that really wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how that introvert comes out telling the stories.
Precisely. And I think, I think writers are sort of born. They have this innate storytelling within them. And your journey through life is to figure out how to get those stories out. The great thing about Maya's Cage Bird is the fact that it was an autobiography, but told very much in a sort of dramatic and structural way. So she messed with the form, and that's why I found it really interesting that she really did mess with the form and kept you on board, and it was a page turner, so to speak. And
kind of losing sleep book.
Precisely. So and so those two books have really been. And then for film, it's got to be my favorite film is A Touch of Evil. From a writer's point of view, it's the first film I came across where the lead character has no redeeming features.
Okay.
So you keep, as the film's going along, you think, that's going to change, that's going to change, that's going to change. And it doesn't. And you keep thinking, God, this guy is so awful. And I remember, without dropping names, because I worked with Denzel Washington, this is, and I remember telling him about that. And, years later, he got in contact with me. He said, I'm just doing this film called Training Day, and he didn't go into it.
Okay, but kind of give you memories.
The memory was the fact that his character had no redemption whatsoever. And everybody's kept going, but he's Denzel, he's going to be nice. He was an absolute basket all the way through.
So he lived up to that character.
We talked about that conversation. So about, no redemption.
Okay.
As an interesting
movie. Yeah. But could you think of one that would be more inspiring in a sense?
An inspirational movie? Yeah. Growing up, it's got to be Roots, isn't it? Because actually it's not a movie, it's a TV series, Alex Haley's Roots, where we saw our history being played out on the big screen and people sharing that information at school. Because it was a sort of family thing. Nowadays, it's all vertical, isn't it?
Yes.
Not horizontal screens, and it's not that anymore. But there is that. For me, when I was at the film school, when I got into the film school, they said, what's your favorite? And everybody says, Citizens Kane and all these, cineasts and whatever. Yeah. And I said Back to the Future. Okay. I thought it was a fantastic film. It was really well done. And, for me, the funniest bit in the whole film, and I thought they were having a laugh now, was when Michael J. Fox got onto the stage playing his guitar. But I really enjoyed cinema. It's just my great escape, my great love, actually.
Okay.
And, and as a kid growing up, it's all this Elvis and whatever, back in Saint Lucia, I remember we used to have tied a sheet to a tree and then we project Elvis onto
really?
It was like, but I never liked any of those Elvis sing-along films. I just thought the man can't act,
Even at that age.
Even at that age, I thought, keep to singing, because actually people were just waiting for the songs.
Yes, really.
They can give a rat's about, the storyline itself, because you can write that on a postage stamp, but it was more
the
about,
music.
it was the music.
Okay.
So musicals were a thing, things that are really uplifting, as you say, was a big thing for me.
Okay.
Seeing Sammy Davis doing tap, dancing is a big thing.
And someone that looked like you.
Yeah, somebody that looked like me. That was good. And, and then Spike come Do the Right Thing. That was a game changer.
So now we definitely have a list of movies that our audience can look at.
Yeah, I think, Spike, with the advent of Spike. And then there were films that we made here in England, that started to change it. The Fellow Saint Lucian, Isaac Julian's, Young Soul Rebel was a big game changer, because it was, he was a black Saint Lucian directing his first feature film set in England amongst the punk generation, right? So, and that was with his company Sankofa Films, which is an all black production company. So I was around at the time when all those things were developing, and
so a lot of pioneering.
There was a lot of pioneering, but yes, another Saint Lucian, Sir Isaac. So you better get him down.
Yes, I bet you do,
and have him chat.
Yes, so I will look forward to you making the connection.
Okay, fine, yeah.
Okay, all right, excellent. So as we move along with the rapid fire, is there a fun fact that you can share that people generally don't know about you?
Yeah, that I like ballroom dancing.
Oh. Okay,
I'm a huge ballroom fan. Really. So Strictly Come Dancing.
Yes,
yeah,
so I was about to say.
Huge fan of Strictly Come Dancing.
So we need to get you there.
I used to go and dance. I do a dance called Balboa.
Oh.
Okay, and Balboa is a sort of shrunken version of jive and swing.
Oh,
and it came from a region in California called Balboa, because when the jive dancers used to dance, they took up so much space with their arms out and their hands up in the air. So the club owners decided to ban them, because they took up too much space and couldn't get so many people on the dance floor.
Yes.
And so out of that came this dance called Balboa, which is a very close quarter swing dance. So it has all the moves, but it's really close.
Okay, so that more people could come in.
Yeah, so more people can do it. And equally, the great thing about Balboa is that it can be danced to any rhythm. So from soca to jazz, you can slow it down, speed it up. It's all there. Yeah.
So I've just learned something new.
There you go.
I wasn't familiar, but I also like ballroom. Yeah. So we'll be lobbying for you to be on Strictly Come Dancing.
I'd love to do that.
Or really. Dancing with the Stars.
Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Thanks for sharing that tidbit. If there was anywhere in the world that you could be today, where would that be? Which country?
It'd have to be Guyana.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because I've never been. I've written a whole series, right? Desmond was the main characters were all Guyanese.
Yes.
And so I've written these Guyanese characters for a number of years, and I've never ever been to Guyana.
Oh, really? You need to.
I need to.
It's the country of my birth.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yes.
I'd love to go there. I would absolutely love to go there.
You would love it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, it's all about the green, the nature, and just the people. And there's a lot happening there now. So
there is,
so you definitely need to put it on your bucket list.
Oh, yes. My bucket list, a big tick. Last year it was Japan. I went to Japan because my son was studying Japanese out there.
Okay. So then Guyana is next. Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. And we're keeping it in the Caribbean spirit. So that's really good.
Okay, that's cool.
Yes. Your childhood. I mean, our childhood influence who we are as adults. Is there a favorite memory that you have from that time?
My favorite
Something that brings a smile to your face.
It's kind of interesting because my childhood was very, very difficult and different.
Okay.
Namely because I came to England when I was 5, found out I was severe asthmatic. My parents for the first time. My granny knew, but didn't tell my parents, right?
Oh dear.
So, and so when I ended up in St Mary's Hospital in Paddington, they thought I had some sort of tropical disease, and
Okay, so you're contagious.
This is how ignorant the British were of us, right? Even though they ruled us for God knows how many years, right? So, and so I ended up in a school on the Isle of Wight to be near the fresh air, and I was the only black person in that school. So it was that whole anxiety, anxious, right?
Yes.
But the lasting memory I have is of my older brother, and he was my absolute God, he really was, I looked up to him. And, but he was just out there. So he had a huge afro with a silver streak on it. He had an earring. He used to wear boots, snakeskin platform boots right up to his thighs.
Okay.
And, other black people in the street thinking, what the hell is happening?
So he was really out there making a statement.
Yeah, he was out there making a statement. And the time I saw where he, for me, fitted, where everything that he was became part of something was because he was a drummer in a band, right? When he was drumming in this rock band, and it was at Telegraph Hill, which is in New Cross. And all the people that used to see him walk the street and kiss up their teeth and thinking what kind of, gay man that they've got here, they were clapping him because he was in this band. He was a drummer. He was leading the whole thing. And so he made sense. And I remember smiling because they were all clapping and going, yeah, seeing a black man there in this band, which was ostensibly white. And he was the only peer. And it was my brother playing.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes. I could see the memory, the smile that comes to your face at that time. Well, Trix, thank you for sharing these insights about you.
My pleasure.
It certainly helped us to learn a little bit more about you and who you are.
Yeah.
So now we move into the business.
Okay.
In there, you're into writing. You're an activist as well. So tell us a bit about when you decided that this could be a business, or rather we'll start with your writing journey. Because that led to the business.
Yeah, my writing journey started with youth theatre. I used to go to a youth theatre club at the Albany Empire and the Old Vic Youth Theatre. And what was wonderful about that was the fact that, there were a number of black people in there. And we even had Victor Romero Evans, another Saint Lucian, who was part of that, and Killian Gideon and her sister Luella, who's also a Lucian with Bayesian background. So, but it was there that I started to write. I think, you kind of, and we used to improvise scenes. And so I used to write some of the scenes up and make them funny, etc. And for me, I was always interested in politics. So I used to write satirical things. And then then I started writing plays but I always wanted to get involved in film. And my father always said to us, never be afraid of money.
Oh.
Right. And never be envious of and never see anybody look down to you, because actually you're the same. Because when they go to the toilet, they do exactly the same thing as you do. So do not be kowtowed to anybody of any influence, right?
Yes, great advice.
So that gave me the power to move forward, because at the time when I started making programs or even starting my own business, there's nobody else doing it. Yeah, I was, one of the first. So I didn't have a mentor or mentee that I could actually talk to and how you do it and whatever. And for me, the thing was that I enjoyed writing plays. I enjoyed telling stories. I enjoyed the audience reaction from it. And I thought the next stage for me was to write films. So as a black man person in this country, I said the only place in this world where I should apply for and try and get in was the best film school in the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't take you seriously. And that was the National Film and Television School.
Oh, wow.
And when you graduate at National, the entire industry turns out for your graduation film. And most people are employed by the end of that whole session. Yeah. I've always wanted to do films, and that was the thing for me.
Okay. So it was a natural transition from writing on the stage and then moving into the film work. Even at that time, did the fact that you were not white or you from the Caribbean have any effect?
It did. It had a huge effect. I mean, even to get into the film school, I had reviews from the Times, the Guardians for plays that I'd written, right? And they're all good. And they said, oh, this is all good. But, and I said, well, my daddy doesn't earn that much. He doesn't have £3,000 to go and give me that money to go and shoot a film to get into this film school. But I turned around and said, look, this is not rocket science. You give me the money, I should prove to you I can do this.
Okay.
And I knew that they had monies if they really liked you. So I got the money. I went away and I shot 2 films with that money, not just one.
Okay. So you made it stretch.
I made it stretch. And one of them came third of a short film competition that the BBC were running. So the following year, when I applied again, and it was just rubber stamp. Yeah, come in. So that was it. So it took me 3 years to learn how to write for screen. Okay. It's a diametric opposite from writing on stage or even writing novels. You know, so that these three forms are like three different languages. They are so, so different. But, you know, because I wanted it so badly,
you were able to.
I was able to, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that you learned from one that you took to the other that helped?
Yeah.
Considering they're so different.
I think storytelling, you know, it's all about storytelling and, knowing your field. Okay. So if you can come up with a really good story, you think it's a really good story, but 2 years ago, somebody came up with something similar. So knowing whatever you come up with is actually going to stand the test of time or indeed be picked up by somebody in order for it to go forward, that nobody's done that before. But, you know, nothing's original.
Yes.
But for me, it was all about telling the black story. All we had back in the 70s and early 80s was negative press. Black people became synonymous with thieving and mugging, and that's what was reported in the papers. There was a thing called mugging, right? Which is stealing people's handbags and running, you know. And suddenly that became a black thing. That was, the black people invented that.
Oh.
I worked with an elderly gentleman at East Street Market, a guy called Arthur Charlesworth, who was in the First World War and Second World War. And he said in the First World War, he absconded, he went AWOL, and when at that time they would shoot you. But because the war finished before he was due for sentencing, they let him out. He had no money, and he ended up going to a kiosk that sold tea and coffee late at night at Waterloo Station, where a number of prostitutes were there. And he said, the first time I came across mugging was I stole a bag from a prostitute. So it's not synonymous. Black people didn't invent this. That, you know, the broadsheets and all the papers were telling us about. And that for me stuck in my palate. You know, the fact that so often we were just rubbish. We were told we were bad. We were, you know, we were a stain on society, and I hated that.
Yes. So it gives you an opportunity to change that narrative, to tell our vision of the story. Yeah,
to tell our vision of the story and who we're about and what we're battling with. And so from there on in, that became my thing, that I want you to tell stories of the migrant generation, first, second, and third generation, to tell white people this is what we're really about. I mean, our struggles are no different than you.
Yes,
you know, you want your kids to succeed, so do we. You want them to go to you, so do we.
Today's episode is brought to you by CME Accounting LLC in partnership with the Saint Lucia High Commission, the official representative of the government of Saint Lucia in the United Kingdom. To find out more about the High Commission, visit www.stluciahcuk.org. Oh, wow. I am being edified, and I'm certain our audience is the same. So my question is, wanting to write, wanting to tell the stories, did you at any point think that this could be a business?
No, I didn't actually. I tell you what happened. The way I got into film was I wrote my last play before I went to the film school. It was called Just Like Mohicans, and it's all set on one night. And it was about a group, three friends, three thieves, who go and rob houses on bonfire night. So that's the 5th of November, if you don't know that.
Yes.
And so what they realized at the time was most families had gone to the major display in the park, which was in Peckham, at the fireworks display. And at the time, this was the first time that people had VCR recorders. And what used to happen was that when you switch the light off in a room, unless you program that VCR recorder, it just used to flash.
Okay.
So if you're walking past through net curtains, you can see somebody has a VCR recorder, and that as a currency, if you steal one of those, you can sell that like so quickly. So the whole play took place in over one night, over 2 hours of these guys just scanning the streets and breaking into people's houses and stealing their VCR. They break into this particular house, but what they come across is an old elderly black woman in her bedroom. So she comes down and she just rips them. Right? She's not scared of them. And especially the young black guy of the three. The other two are white, and he's, you know, and she's basically saying, you know, what are you doing? How come you're stealing from me? You know, from ourselves. You're stealing from us. So the conversation is about what her dreams and aspirations of coming to England was. And the reality is that he's living out those dreams in school, in the playground. He's getting all the grief. He doesn't know where he is or where he stands. Whereas, our parents said, yeah. You know, like my parents, when I came to England, they stopped speaking Saint Lucian patois. We weren't taught that. My dad said, you know, when in Rome,
be like
the
Roman.
Romans. So, you know, you're in England, you learn English. That's it. So unless they were telling you off or cussing you, then
there was no Creole.
Between the two of them, my mum and dad used to speak in Creole and whatever, you know, so we wouldn't understand. So that was the first sort of thing that arose about the generational struggle between the two, about the aims and aspirations of the first generation who came over and their children, the reality of what they had to live through. We had to do things like we couldn't walk down the street with our back to the traffic just in case we get jumped on.
Wow.
So we had to face traffic. So if a van pulls up,
you can see
it coming. We couldn't stand at a bus stop behind people.
Yes.
So we used to stand against a wall outside the bus stop. That came from the fact that at the time there was a law called sus.
Okay.
So police couldn't just pick you up with suspicion to steal somebody's handbag.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
So as a kid, I remember getting picked up by the police because I was suspected to steal this woman's handbag. The woman had no idea I was even behind her, let alone steal a damn handbag. So
yes, and you probably didn't even know there was a handbag there to begin.
I didn't know that. And so that was the law that we were beaten with. Wow. And it became a real sport from the police to beat the hell out of you, you know?
Oh, wow.
And the other thing that they learned is that if you were picked up as a young man or young person, if you're picked up by the police, this would denigrate this. Your parents would be so vexed about the fact that you were even picked up by the police that they'll give you licks and then your parents give you licks for even being picked up, right? So, you know, my parents used to say, whatever you do, don't bring the police to my house. Right. So that's what we were growing up with, you know, and at the time there was a national front, you know, the Union Jack was waved everywhere. There was extreme right wing. They're selling their magazines and, you know, and and there were skinheads who, you know, their Saturday amusement after football was to go and find black people and beat the shit out of them, you know, sorry about my French, but that's basically how it ran. I remember as a kid when my parents, before my dad got a car, used to take a bus to go and visit relatives on a Sunday, right? Which is I was really anxious when my parents were on the bus because for me, they felt vulnerable because I used to get all sorts of grief on a bus, right? People calling me all sorts of names. And I didn't want that from my mum and dad, you know, so I got really anxious about that. And me and my brothers, we took up martial arts, you know, because actually, if you're going to fight,
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a tough time, but an interesting time at the same time.
Okay. And so the business journey transition.
My business journey came through this because I'd written a film called For Queen and Country, which starred Denzel Washington. And, its world premiere was in Cannes. Right. And, I wasn't invited.
Because of the color of your skin?
No, but because of writers are seen as so far down. I'm sure if my name was Toby or Jasper or whatever, then they probably I would have been part of their, you know, their thinking, but no, Trix Worrell. So a friend of mine saying, well, Trix, it's gonna, you know, your film's gonna be in Cannes at the Cannes Film Festival. He said, this might never happen again. And this is a guy I went to film school with, right? He said, I said, bro, I've got no money. He said, don't worry, I'll drive you.
Oh.
So we drove from Peckham to Cannes.
Okay.
Right? And on the way there, he said, you know, what we should do is to form a company, Rob. So we formed a film company called Wicked Films. And Wicked Films went on to great success, both sides of the Atlantic. We opened up in LA as well as had offices in London. And so that was the time I was really thinking I should usurp all this and form my own company. And you know, the whole notion of money and how to start it, because my dad would say never be frightened of money because, you know, go and see your bank manager because actually it's not his money.
It's a bank's money.
It's a bank's money. So don't be frightened of him standing there going, tutting his, you know, and shaking his head and whatever. Then challenge them. Yes. You know? And so, so we got a loan. And that's how we started. And at the time we started doing music videos. It was at the advent of the whole music video scene that was happening in England.
Oh, what years was this about?
That was sort of 85, 84, 82, 83. Yeah. So, yeah.
I was very
80s,
much an infant.
Yeah. So real early 80s. Yeah, I'm an old man. So. Saint Lucian skin. But anyway, So we started to make music videos. And that financed our films because the profits that we made on those went to developing films. But we did sit down and look at a business plan, and we said, look, it takes about 5 years to finance a film. From initial concept to getting it made and getting it out there.
Oh, wow.
So we're thinking, so that's 20 years. We've only made 4, right? So that's not a great
yes, that's not sustainable. No.
That's not. So what we're going to do about that? So we just said, okay, what we'll do is that we'll try and get to at least 4 as soon as possible. So that's what we did. We identified which films made money.
As in the genre?
As in the genre, yeah. Okay. So we looked at genres that made money, and horror was at the top of it. So the first film I produced was a film called Hardware, which was a sci-fi horror, and that made us money. And we did that as co-production with Miramax and Harvey Keitel. I worked with Harvey Keitel. I worked with Harvey Keitel on another film, but Harvey Weinstein. I worked with Harvey on that, and he was just, he took no prisoners, man. He effed and jeffed all the way through. Every other word was like, that was it. And so we didn't get on. We just didn't get on. We just clashed all the time. But we got the film made. And at the end of the film, he said to me, Trix, do you want to come and work for me?
Oh, okay.
I said, why would I'm going to work for you if I'm just going to get this effing and jeffing all the time? Our model was to do a sci-fi, then to do a thriller, then to do a comedy. So we had,
a plan.
Different genres that we were going to do. And so we hit that within 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So we did 4 or 5 films in 10 years.
So what would you say made you accomplish this, Ilya? What was that, I guess, key?
The key thing is never accept the word no.
Okay.
When people said, no, you can't do that, yeah, you can. Self-belief, that's the thing. And what we did also, we picked up young directors. So every single film was their directorial debut. And they and we'd seen them when we were doing music videos with them, so we knew their ability and what they could do visually. And that, because music videos gave young directors a visual language more so, because they were doing time and over again, doing loads and loads and loads. So to do a show reel for the financiers was really easy. So they could see the visual style that this director would bring to this. And, and also, we, as I said, no, didn't mean anything. And our motto is like, we're here to make films, not friends.
Okay, so you're persistent and determined.
Persistent. And what was interesting too, I had looked at the demographic and think, within the film industry, what culture dominates that? And it's a Jewish culture, right? And so my business partner was Jewish.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
was a deliberate on my point.
Yes. So, a good strategy. Okay.
So, a lot of deals were done in synagogues, right? So I knew that. You didn't know that I knew that, but I knew that. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So thanks for sharing that journey into business. Now, over time, you may have started several businesses. I know Distant Voices exist at the moment. Yes. But there's the big show we mentioned. How did that come about in this whole
Desmond's?
Yes, Desmond's. Yes.
Okay. It came about because Channel 4 ran a writers competition. Debut 84 it was called, and I won that. It was a script that I'd written. It was the last stage play that I did before I went to the National Film School. I didn't put the script in. The cast put the script in for this writers competition.
Okay, so you weren't even aware.
I wasn't aware. So I get a phone call one Sunday, and it's from Channel 4, and I go, Trix Worrell, yeah. Congratulations, you won. I said, look, I'll stop taking the piss. I didn't do that. And I put the phone down. Seriously. And a friend of mine was there, and he said, Trix, we put the script in. Why didn't you So I was waiting for the phone to ring again. They're probably thinking, who's this lunatic on? So, subsequently, about 10 minutes later, it rang again. And so that's how that started. And so Channel 4 were looking for a sitcom. Okay. And my name happened to be in the hat because I'd won this writers award. And also I was at the National Film School too. So they realized that, I can make movies and I could
Yes.
You know,
it's not just a name.
It's not just a name. And so I said to them, look, listen, so they told me about this producer, Humphrey Barclay. He did, you know, he's a legend in comedy. And I thought, you know what? I really want to meet this guy, irrespective. I didn't have a comedy. I said, why are they coming to me? You know, last film I wrote, you know, it was 2 weeks of a man's life, you know. There was nothing funny for Queen and Country, right? So, So, but on the way there, I got on the bus and I came past the barbershop that used to get my hair done with my dad, right? Called Fair Deal. And it was at 9 o'clock in the morning. Around the back of the barbershop was a girls' school called Collingwood Girls, right? And sixth form girls used to come there. So the older girls used to come around, you know, about 9 o'clock. Everybody had to be in before 9, but the sixth formers, they could be about 10.
At any time, yes.
And so, you know, they used to turn their skirts up so that it was really mini and, you know, dress up, you know.
So this has been happening for a while?
It's been happening for an absolute while. And I came across it. So the bus came to a stop at the traffic light. I'm looking across at the barber shop. The girls are coming back past with their short skirts and whatever, and their hair and their nails and everything done up, right? The barbers had stopped cutting the hair of their clients who were sat in the chair, and they came out just to chirp these girls, right? Going, baby, what, you know, give us your number and all this sort. And in the background, you just see these black guys waiting in the chair going, for God's sake.
Come and cut my hair.
Yeah, come and cut the hair. Give me a shave. Finish off this thing, for God's sake. And so I came up with that idea for Desmond's on the way up there. And, I got into the meeting. I said to him, look, I've got this idea. And he goes, what is it? I said, it's set in a barbershop. He yawned and said, have you any idea how many barbershop sitcoms that I get? I said, of course I've got no bloody idea. Otherwise I wouldn't have called it, you know.
Yes.
And I said, the one thing about black barbers is that the mate is called Desmond. The thing about him is that he can't cut hair.
So then it's not.
So it's not.
It's different.
And it's more about being in the community centre where you see other. It's the only place where black people can just be black, right? In England, you know. So that was the thing. It was more about the food, talking boxing, stupidness, football, and everything else, right? And it really wasn't about getting your hair cut. It was just about
that community and engaging and shared experience.
Precisely. That's what it was about. And I told him that, and then suddenly he sat up and listened. He said, oh, that's a fantastic idea. And so, and then it happened quite quickly, actually. What helped it was that Michael Grade, who was head of Channel 4 at the time, had just come back from America, from ABC. And when he found out about Desmond's and he saw it, he said, this show could go to America. So what he did, normally in sitcoms in England, you do 6 episodes per season.
Okay. Oh, right? Really?
Desmond's in the first series. When he saw it, the first series, he then decided to accelerate it because he wanted to get to change format figures, and that's 70 plus. So in the second series, he accelerated to 13, and he kept on going to 13 until he got to about 70 plus. Unfortunately, Norman died, and so he had to be called, you know, to finish. But it was, for me, it was a way of telling the British public about our experiences. And I've often said this, I never wrote Desmond's for black people because we know who we are. I wrote it for white people so that they can see who we are. So that was always been my mentor, you know, that's always been my thing. And I knew that we really hit it when I found out the audience figures, that the biggest audience figures for Desmond's was in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Yes, it would be a real wow. Now, as we talk about Desmond's, I was introduced to the show maybe a couple of years ago. My boss indicated that, you know, there's this show that a Saint Lucian has made. It's called Desmond's, and I'd never heard about it. So I went onto YouTube and I binged. It was very relatable and understandable, and it spoke of Guyana. I could understand. I could see that, and just the whole general Caribbean experience, and I related to that. So it took me, the question is, what inspired the choice of Guyana being the central, of the main characters being from Guyana and wanting to go back home?
The choice of it was being Saint Lucian. Why? Because the great British public thought every black person was from Jamaica. So it was that stupid joke of, you know, so where are you from? Saint Lucia. Whereabouts in Jamaica is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So
it still happens sometimes today.
I'm sure it still does. So I wanted to show different islands. I wanted to show different dialect. I wanted to show, you know, a smaller island experience, even though Guyana is not an island, so to speak. And what transpired was that I always wanted to work with Carmen Monroe, who played Shirley. And when I wrote Desmond, the producers kept on saying to me, do you have somebody in mind to play Desmond? And I said, no. I said, I don't work that way because then it colors my thinking and how I write it, and because I'll have that person in my head. And by the time I finished it, there was only one person that could play. And when I finished the first script and I walked into a meeting with the two producers, and they said, and they read it and they're going to give me notes. And they said, well, you know, so Trix, who do you think? I said, well, there's only one person that can play this. And we all said collectively Norman Beaton.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
So, you know, for me, Carmen was just a whole heartful thing. She was my pin-up, you know what I mean? She was like, back in the day, she was an angel. She was the only black woman I saw on TV, you know, at the time. And, and I knew she was a fantastic actress. And so I wanted that. And then Ramjon Holder, he musically was just brilliant. I remember listening to one of his albums, you know, he did a series of albums called North, South, East and West, which was about the experience of being black in North, South, East and West of London. And, you know, he's a fantastic musician. So, yeah.
So it all came together.
Came together, and it was coloured by the fact that all three of them were Guyanese. So it made no sense whatsoever to make them something else.
Yes.
Even though the Channel 4, the broadcasters, wanted to change the son, Michael, and make him come with a Jamaican patois and dreadlocks. And I said, no, he's a bank manager, or assistant bank manager. That's what he wants to be. That's what our families want us to be.
Yes.
They don't want us to be professional rusters hanging out with a tam and a guitar. That's not what we're about. You know, that's not what I expect.
Because that was the narrative that was being shared and everything.
Yeah, precisely that.
And since the Caribbean supposedly was only Jamaica,
it
was good that you were able to influence and they listened. As well.
Yeah, they did.
I think it still happens even to today that people think that the Caribbean is just Jamaica.
Yeah.
And so it's always good. There are two sets of people you will meet. One that will be very interested to know, okay, it's not. And they will excited to learn. And then the others like, really? In that sense.
Yeah, that's very true.
So we're still educating, but we've come a long way.
We have come a long way. And we came even as far as, you know, Cosby.
Yes.
He picked up Desmond's because he loved the idea that it was one of the small islands, and he wanted to educate Americans that they actually, there are other black Caribbean islands than, or people rather than just Jamaicans. So it was a big,
And nothing against our Jamaican brothers and sisters.
No, nothing against them whatsoever. Listen, I've produced stuff out there. I've written film for Ridley Scott based in Jamaica. So, you know, I know.
Yes.
So, and I do love the island. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I've had a great time there. So researching stuff but, you know, look, listen, what's important are the other voices.
Yes, that experience, because we're all unique in our special way.
Yeah.
So we spoke a lot about beginning, and we touched a bit on building as you go through. So in terms of that first client for the business, would you say it was the For King and Country movie, or?
Yeah, I think it was for Queen and Country movie.
Oh, Queen and Country.
Yes,
I think
it was that, because actually Working Title were just on the rise.
Okay.
And Universal were really keen on financing them as their sort of European hub. And the person I worked with on For Queen and Country is a guy called Martin Stellman, who wrote Quadrophenia. He also wrote Babylon, which is a black film, right? So he was my mentor, incidentally. So and so he had written a film called Defense of the Realm, and he sent me the screenplay. And it was fantastic. And the pecking order within films is this, right? That a writer can write a film and the story, but a director can change it and a producer can do whatever they want with it. Right?
Really?
Once they bought the rights on it, then
if you sold it.
And so I went to see a rough cut of this Defense of the Realm, and I sat next to this man who I really admired and loved, and the man was weeping because it was so bad. It was so far away from what he'd written. Okay. And he said to me, look, listen, I've got a meeting with Working Title, but I can't write screenplays on my own anymore because you just get beaten up. And, you know, you're fiery, you don't take shit. So listen, have you got an idea that we can both write together? And I said, yeah, I've got an idea. It's based on a mutual friend of ours For Queen and Country, right? It's based on a mutual friend of ours. So we went to Working Title. So we spelt it out that night. We got incredibly drunk. We spelt it out. We remembered it all.
Yes, after. Yes,
Remembered
yes,
it all. Went to working title, and they just rubber stamped it on there on that day and said, "Okay, well, fine, go away and write it."
Okay.
So yeah, and I've been in communication with them since then, to the point that they were chasing a particular director. Right? Everybody was talking about this particular guy. He's a little white guy called Danny Cannon. And my production company, Wicked, got in there before they did. So when he's graduated, he'd already signed a 2-picture deal with us. He hadn't told the rest so when he graduated and his film was shown, working title went straight up to him and said, "Come, Danny." Yeah. He said, "Oh, no, I can't do that." So yeah, no, Trix. And you should have seen their faces. They looked across and went, yeah. So we did our first film with him. It was called Young American, starred Harvey Keitel and Tandy Newton and Viggo Mortensen, and just a lot. Yeah. So our first Hollywood sort of big film.
Hello, valued listener. You may hear a slight difference in the sound of this section. This was due to technical difficulties during recording. We seek your understanding. Thank you.
This tells me that you were really studying the industry and developing strategies to know where you needed to be and what you needed to do. So thanks for sharing that.
Yes, and that's the thing. If you're going to get into business, know your field, develop your strategy, know what it is that you're going after. Everybody talks about in terms of business, the 5-year plan. Yes and no. Yes, that's a good sort of loose structure, but actually things change. And, so yeah, you must be flexible, but you must realize that as within that 5-year plan, come the third year, that's when it's, give or take, take licks or leave, innit? So, that's when it's really tricky. If you get beyond that, then you can actually grow your business, or you can just completely, as we did, throw all that up in the air and just go for it in a different way. But as I said, we structured it on genre, which genres took the most amount of money, because the thing about films is that they're not necessarily replicated. It's not like it's a glass. These are people's dreams. These are ideas housed on 196 pages of a script that you then have to go out and raise a considerable amount of money to make that happen. So you need to be very certain about where, how, what, why, and when, because actually people are putting a lot of money into a dream. So that's the thing.
Thank you for sharing such insightful information. I'm blown away.
Okay. Yeah. So it's really important that, you know your business, you know what it is. And, the thing is, I've often said this, that actually the problem that we have in England is class, right? So there is no other country whereby somebody who had gone to Eton thinks they're qualified to run the biggest company in England, Prime Minister, right? Okay. So it's like Boris Johnson, right? So he went to Eton and suddenly you and I would go to a bank and say, look, I want to become bank manager. So where are you from then? What qualification you got? Which is a logical question. We put all his faith into some idiot that's come from Eton and we think that's okay. That is not okay.
It is assumed because they attended a particular institution, they're suddenly equipped to be a prime minister.
Precisely that. And if I were going to change anything, I would make sure that a prime minister would have at least 10 years of business experience before he can then come and run. He or she can then come and run the biggest business in the UK, which is the United Kingdom PLC, right?
Then they can be relatable.
Yeah, precisely. They would understand, they could be relatable. It's a different experience and they could relate to it all because they sit in a glass bubble, right? They don't really relate. They just see their own, Farquhars and the Barnabys and Jaspers, So they don't come across a Trix or a Delroy or Leroy or any of that, They don't come across any of those names, right? So they have no idea. What's interesting now that I'm finding is that the commissioners of TV suddenly think that because their son Matthew or Jasper or Toby has gone to a school that is multiracial, that they can now write about the black experience.
Yes. And you can't.
And you can't. So, no, because you don't have the cultural references. So, but they think that's okay. Just because they come home and bust a few black words with their mum and dad and they have no idea what they're talking about,
Just like we can't share their experiences.
No, we can't share their experience. But having said that, we are taught their experience.
That's very true.
You know, and not only from what we are, but actually, so A-level English, we've learned about Shakespeare, we learn about class. So that will qualify us to write about that more so than they can write about us. But, you know, the fact is that we are taught that. Yeah. So yes, so therefore we can write that. We are then told to write essays about that, right? Yeah. So you can't write truthfully or get good grades unless you get a very good insight into whatever that question is, and that relates to the culture and the class. So yes, we could write about your history, we could write about your class, but you can't write about us because you have no idea about us. The only thing that you're aware of us is that language, the English language constantly changes, and suddenly some words that their son comes and say, you know, Dad is sick, you know, that's where you get sick from. Yeah, but you know, I get it from, so that's it.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Trix, considering all of your experiences, what would you say is your biggest leap in your whole journey?
My biggest leap in the whole journey is a belief in myself. Even I started this by saying I'm anxious, right? Yes. And what I learned from film school is that if you are a creator of ideas, hang on to that, believe in that. Because that's why you're sitting opposite somebody that wants to buy into that, right? So the big leap is to hang on to that and believe in that. And if you believe in that, then there are too many people out there that will try and take that idea away from you and claim it as theirs. Yeah, you have to have an internal belief that actually this idea that you've got is relatable, is sellable. It's this thing I always say, why would I leave my house in the middle of winter when it's snowing and it's -10 to go and pay £12 of well-earned money to go and see your film? Why would I do that unless it's good? Something has to get beyond that. So that's the leap that will say that actually if you believe in yourself, then you can do anything. And as it goes back to my dad, you know, saying, you know, never be frightened of. So, you know, and the other thing he used to say, never wait for anybody because they're never going to give you anything. Which is one of the things I've said to my kids, right? Don't wait for anybody and they're mixed, right? They're never going to give you anything. And so my younger son, who after drama school and the Brit school and all that, you know, came out and said, look, Dad, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know, what are you waiting for, Elliot? Go and shoot your first film. So he did. He crowdfunded it. He got Rafe Fiennes in it. He got Sharon D. Clarke in it. He got some serious people that were on their way up. And he directed them in his first short film. So, you know, because he didn't wait.
Yes.
You know,
create opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. You do. And, you know, and learn the language of film. You know, I think that's really important. Learn the language of what you're going to be doing. Yes. You know, that's really important. And within it, be confident because actually you've only got your own self. And especially being black, you're under a microscope even more so. So you have to have a real self-belief about what it is that you're trying to sell, you know, and why.
And that advice applies across all fields and professions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, one of the things that everybody was making a song and dance that it was going to be Doctor Who, Black Doctor Who. Let's just face it now. The Doctor Who's a bloody alien, right? It could be any color, any genre, any sex he wants to be. So what are you making a song and dance about? And so I want to tell stories where especially black female stories, I don't think there's enough representation of black women on screen. So I've got a few ideas where that just feature black women but told in a particular genre.
Okay.
You know, martial arts. Okay. So anime.
Oh.
So anime, mother and daughter thing that's going on where the mother has no maternal instinct and the daughter is autistic.
Why did you choose anime to tell this
Because
story?
The one genre that most young black kids turn to and read is anime. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, the main protagonist or heroine is from a single family, is a single person. Okay, that, you know, against all odds becomes the hero, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why. And so a lot of young black kids are reading and watching anime or reading, you know, the manga. Yeah, so a lot about, so my 2 boys, that's huge fans. They've been since they were that to the point that my eldest son, who wasn't very academic, did very little at school, hated school, turned around to me one day and said, "Dad, I'm going to be doing a Japanese degree." And I went, "Okay." So because actually he was dyslexic, dyspraxic, this, but somehow the whole Japanese language and symbols seemed to jump off the page and he could understand it. And so he went over to Japan. He spent a year there as part of a 4-year degree. And, and then all his friends were going, "Oh my God, yeah. So Studio Ghibli was a big thing for them. And, they even went to Paris to see a Parisian symphony orchestra play Studio Ghibli with a live orchestra, some of their animation. Because, there are a lot of young black people, girls and boys, are really into anime and manga. And I would just put this out to any young person now is, the whole business of, AI or indeed anything to do with digital, get to know it because that has no boundaries. Yeah. If you can do it, they'll employ you and that is the future.
Okay. Yeah. But in everything, there's always a struggle, despite not taking no for an answer. Was there any time that you felt, I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah. A lot of the time, actually. What was interesting is that I got to a point where I had achieved both. I had businesses, and offices both sides of the Atlantic. I'm from Peckham. I'm from Saint Lucia. I get to Hollywood. I mean, my office is on Hollywood Boulevard, so it couldn't be more Hollywood than Hollywood, right? Yes. Okay. And I'm going there and I'm thinking, is this it? Yeah. And I just got commissioned to write a sitcom for TLC. I was going to fly to Georgia to go and meet them, right? And they pay me a load of money to do this half-hour sitcom, right? And I was thinking, well, is this it? I've done it, haven't I? And then thereafter, it sort of went down. They paid me a lot of money doing stuff, but actually my company was doing incredibly well. And I just thought, you know what? I just do not like this business. And I just saw the other side of it because they don't mince words in America, right? They tell you directly what, in England, it's sort of, they go around the houses rather than get to the point. Our business strategy was if we were waiting for somebody to fund us, we'd go to dinner with them and say, okay, before we eat, tell us whether we got it or not. If we haven't got it, you pay for it. If we got it, we'll pay for it. There you go. And you could talk about your kids and how they want to get into the business and we'll help you out with that. But actually, let's get to the chase, Stop this going round. Because normally in businesses and meetings like that, decisions, they'll wait till, you got to, if you're talking food, you get to the, the after 8 minutes and whatever, you're just about to leave, you had the coffee and they say, by the way, Trix, we're not going to finance you, so tell me up front, then at least I know.
So you manage your expectations.
Absolutely. So, and in America, they ghost you too. So, they just stop taking calls. They don't even explain why. They just stop taking calls. And I thought, this is not a way to do business. And so I thought, you know what? I've had enough of this. And also here, I had a lot of haters, a lot of people that didn't like me because I was doing really well. In amongst black and white community too, because there was this thing of if you did film, you did film. And that was like, and that was, that was a crown jewels. TV was second. So if you worked in TV, you're trying to get work in TV, you come from film, so you think you're better than us. So I never used to tell people about my production company within the film industry, within the TV industry. And actually I did it once where I told the producer of Desmond's, I got him tickets to see For Queen and Country on the premiere. I never told him I did it. I never even told him I wrote it. I just said, please turn up to this. He watched it. He came out and he said to me, so is that what you've been doing then? And our relationship changed thereafter. He made it really difficult. He's looking at me a different light now and saying, so this guy really knows his shit, right? He got Denzel Washington to do this and all I've been doing is trying to keep him like this. And that's what he was doing. To the point where I said I want to direct some episodes of Desmond. He said no. So I wait to the second series, right? I wait to the last 3 scripts because I was writing them all. And I said I will not distribute or finish these last scripts unless I can direct them. And I said, don't you tell me anything about I don't know. I've gone to the best film school in the world. I'm more qualified than you to do this. So don't you tell me. You did English A-level at Cambridge, right? Literature. I've done film. So don't tell me. I've done a master's in film at the best film school in the world. So don't you dare tell me I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. So that's how I got it. So let me do it. But then our relationship changed because it meant I had more power as a writer and director. I had these two hats, and he couldn't. It's all about power.
It really shows us very vividly that divide. So even though you were fully qualified, more than qualified, someone of a lesser ability was able to do the job that you.
Well, he wouldn't let me do it because it's giving a black man power, isn't it? Or a black person power. They don't want to do that. They never want to do that. That's why they only let us one in at a time, because there was one. I've often said this. If I wasn't Trix Worrell writing Desmond's, I would not have become a TV writer, because they only let one person in, and I happen to be that one.
Well, you know what? It's good that it was you.
Yeah,
because
it
you
was.
were able to advocate for changes.
Yeah. And I got more writers in there, and so I picked new writers, and we had, as a writing team, they then went on to do major TV series like Coronation Street and Emmerdale. They did dramas and whatever. They went on, and these guys had never written for television before. They'd written for stage, and I got them in to write for Desmond's and get that experience, and then they then moved on and did stuff. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, there's so much I'm sure we could keep talking about.
Sure.
There's so many things that we still want to know, but
I can come back for part 2 if you want.
yes, we'll definitely need a part 2. But I think before we close off, I wanted to find out, in terms of balancing business, family, professional life, how did you manage that? Because having business in the US, having business in the UK, constant traveling.
It was really
balancing.
Yes and no. I used to come back every 3 weeks from LA to see my kids. And so flying backwards in LA was just really like taking a bus in the sky. And it was really, really difficult. And I was a partner that actually understood the whole thing. And in fact, I ended up having a split with the mother of my children because of it. We got to a point where I was getting flown backwards and forwards to LA by various production companies. Disney, for one, flew me first class and said, come, we want you to write some stuff. And I got the job, and it was to do an adaptation of Mark Twain's Yankee in the Court and King Arthur, that make the central character a black girl, right? And so I did a treatment for it. They loved it, and I got the job. They even hired a house for me.
Okay, wow.
So I wanted to surprise my partner at the time, and I flew back and I said, guess what? We got, she said, well, I told you I don't want to move to LA. We got mixed race children. They're not going to, the whole black white thing is not great in LA. We've talked about this, and she was right. We did talk about it. So it didn't happen. She didn't go, and I gave it up.
Okay.
A lot, and so thereafter it became a contention, really.
Yes,
so
imagine,
they're thinking, because I was living in Peckham at the time, thinking, what if, I get to, a boy from Peckham that used to go to Saturday morning pictures, I want to be up there doing that. And, anyway, so it's a difficult balance. And then I ended up going out with somebody I'm still to this day. And she's been my rod. And she, because she works in the industry, she totally understands what it's about. So that's important, actually, that you're with somebody that understands, because it is so different, the rules and regs within the industry and the time that they want from you.
Yes.
Because for them, no is not an option. Right? Yeah. So you just have to deliver, and you have to keep going until you get it right.
Oh, wow. We definitely need a part 2.
Okay.
Really. And thanks so much for sharing about that balancing of family. And that's an important point about being with someone who understands.
Sure.
You can grow together.
Absolutely.
Well, in that sense, not just you growing and they're at home.
No.
Or you're at home and they're growing. So it helps.
Yeah, it does. And so, so that's what I did.
Okay. So to close out,
Okay.
I think I would want from you is to share maybe three key things that, or we would say rather recommendations or considerations for a person wanting to get into the industry of writing, directing, acting. What are 3 principles you think?
I think principles are the business of the film industry is such, and it's so big and so lucrative that the world and their grandmother wants to be there. So it's really cutthroat. So you really have to know it. And it's the only industry where there's 2 daily papers that are published on it. Okay. So I'll go to the library and find out how it works and what it is. Secondly, find out what's the films you want to make. What turns you on? What would you go to the cinema to watch or even switch on your Netflix? Okay. Thirdly, have a look at the finances and how they break down. Get to know what people do. Okay. Within the industry. Because there is a thing called above the line costs and below the line costs. Above the line costs are heads of the department, the stars, the this, the that. And below the line is all the foot soldiers that facilitate all that. So get to know all the terms and the language of. Okay. And don't beat yourself up.
That's a very good one.
You know?
I will take that one. I beat myself up.
Yeah, because we do.
Yes.
Because we're lone person on their own and think, so don't.
Yes.
Be kind to yourself. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, we haven't spoken about the Graddies. We haven't spoken about your mentorship program. We haven't spoken about Distant Voices.
No.
So it means that we need a part 2.
We need a part 2 when we come back for the Graddies and stuff. Because the Graddies, on the 24th, that's where we're going to be screening, And funny enough, I've just seen the winning film. I think it's the winning film. And it's absolutely brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So I look forward to hearing more about that.
Sure.
But one thing, can you tell the audience where they can find out more about Trix Worrell?
You can find out more about Trix Worrell on distantvoicesgroup.com. So if you look up Distant Voices, you'll be able to find me. So if you want to ask questions and stuff, that's file them over.
Okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
For sharing your story, your journey, the challenges, how you overcame them, and we'll schedule for part 2.
That'd be great, because I've actually told the cameraman here that he should give me his card because he's black, and we'll see what we can get in some work. That's simple.
I love it. And that is what Begin, Build, Blossom is about. Building that community, supporting each other, the networks. This has been Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey. I'm your host, Angela Sindes. Thank you for watching and listening. We look forward to you joining us on the next episode. Bye for now. Today's episode is brought to you by CME Accounting LLC in partnership with the Saint Lucia High Commission, the official representative of the government of Saint Lucia in the United Kingdom. To find out more about the High Commission, visit www.stluciahcuk.org. A quick note before we wrap up. The insights and experiences shared by our guests are their own. We love creating space for real conversations about business and growth, and everyone's journey is unique. Therefore, this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. It is not meant to replace legal, financial, or other professional advice. So, we encourage you to take what's useful, do your own due diligence, and build what works best for you.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.